Welcome back, everyone, to iHeart Sports. Alex Hart here, and we're on to episode 4 of our 2021 MLB season preview. Today, we're going to talk about the National League East, and as per all the other videos, starting from the bottom based on projections, working our way up to the top. Before we do that, can everyone please just do me a favor? Scroll down below, hit that like button, hit that subscription button. It's going to really help out this channel grow, and that's really what I want to do. During this 2021 season, I want to bring everyone together, and let's just enjoy this season. And thanks for doing that, and let's go on. Today, we're going to kick things off with the Miami Marlins. Now, last season, they made the playoffs. However, I know it's probably not going to happen this year. Projected to finish last place in this division, 72.5 wins. Now, they made the playoffs last year, but that was a whole different story. 16 teams were able to make the playoffs last year. This year, there's only going to go back to 2 wildcard spots. And given that they're likely in the hardest division in the National League, it's a tough hill for them to climb. The teams in the Central have it a lot easier. They'll at least get to beat up on the Pirates all season. The team in the West, it's going to be a lot easier. They're going to get to beat up on the Colorado Rockies all season, whereas the Miami Marlins, pretty much everyone in their division projected to do better than them, so they don't really have that same threshold to be able to beat up on a team. Miami's kind of in that spot where they're too bad to make the playoffs, but also too good to get a top 5 pick. But let's take a look at their lineup here and what you can kind of expect for them. At the very least, you're going to see a team that puts up consistent wins throughout the season, I think. And rightfully so. Their lineup's still pretty good. Corey Dickerson, Starling Marte, Jesus Aguilar at the top. Awesome. Duvall, Anderson, Rojas, and then their star here, Jazz Chisholm, who's really their up-and-coming prospect that they traded away for, and they got him, trading Gallen. So this lineup has some punch to it. The biggest thing for them is going to be their starters. They're still up and coming, still unproven, but they got a lot of the same guys coming back from last year. Alcantara, Sixto Sanchez is in there again. One guy that's trying to make the team, Gio Gonzalez. However, he's been having somewhat of a struggling spring training, so I don't expect him, at least at this point, he's not projected to be a part of their starting rotation. And that's the Marlins. They're going to be a fun team to watch. They're going to compete daily, but are they going to be able to get the stretch of wins together? Very likely not. I think if you're looking at the percentage chance of making the wild card, most places are giving them like 1%, which puts them behind the Giants. It puts them behind the Reds, which are already teams that are in the same kind of boat. But like I talked about earlier, just easier schedule for those guys. So expecting the Marlins to be 5th and a long season, but at least they'll be exciting to watch. Second up here, we have the Philadelphia Phillies, 81.5 wins projected, and you know it's a stacked division when you have the Philadelphia Phillies in 4th in the projections. They were active this offseason. Dave Dombrowski coming in, president of baseball operations. He's really been known for taking a team to the next step. He did it with the Red Sox. He was part of the Tigers doing it back when they were doing it. So a big signing for them, big expectations now out of Philly. Really, it's playoffs or bust. They've now missed the playoffs 9 consecutive seasons, so it's a pretty big drought. And I don't know, if they don't make the playoffs this season, I don't know what they're going to be able to do. But they're going to have to start looking at the core here. They have a core that they've really put together here, and that's what they're trying to build their team around. Pitching is going to definitely be their downside. So let's start things off with that. Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler. Wheeler had an awesome season. Nola was hit and miss at times. It falls off pretty quickly for them. Zach Eflin, Matt Moore. Matt Moore didn't even pitch in the MLB last season, so I don't know what to expect from him. He had an okay season overseas, but Chase Anderson, Vincent Velasquez, again, both 2 guys that are not a big staple. So this is not an area they really addressed in the offseason and might continue to be a struggle for them. However, they did somewhat address their bullpen, which was historically bad last year. So I don't know if they'll be able to blow as many games as they did last year, and the season's going to be longer. So they at least have that going for them. But the one thing they always have going for them every season, at least for the past couple seasons, is their offense. If we take a look here, Andrew McCutchen back at the top of the order. even though he's getting older, they still expect him to be able to get on base and produce. So if he gets on base, they got Rhys Hoskins right behind, Bryce Harper. They still got many, many years of him in their lineup, so they want to take advantage of it while he's in his prime. They need him to really get this team pumped up the way he can. JT Realmuto re-signing here, all-star catcher, and really it could be a big difference maker with him in this lineup. Alec Bohm, Didi Gregorius, Jean Segura, all these guys have a big potential, and this offense has big potential. So even though they're predicted to finish fourth here, 81.5, I'm not sold. I think they really need to take a step forward. If they aren't able to this season, I don't know. This could be a long couple of years for the Philadelphia Phillies, and they're really gonna find themselves in that same kind of area with they do with Mike Trout. They got Mike Trout, they got Bryce Harper, but they can't take the step forward. I don't know. I'm excited to see at least what this season has. There's so many question marks around this team, and we'll soon start getting them answered once the season kicks off. That brings us on to the Washington Nationals, 84.5 wins projected. How soon it is, at least and I'm sure some people forgot, these guys won the World Series in 2019, and we're only 2 years removed. Last season, pretty much a write-off for this team. A lot of injuries. I don't know if this comes as a surprise, but Brock Holt, the fielder, pitched more games than Strasburg did last season. So now that Strasburg's expected to be back, and that the Nationals at least have that going for them. And as well, there's a lot of talk around this team having the potential MVP, and there's a lot of hype around them. So let's look at this lineup. It's going to Trey Turner, shortstop. He's the guy you want in your leadoff spot. He's proven to be very good. Juan Soto is the guy I just forecasted. A lot of talk around this man to be MVP, and he's in the talk already. I haven't seen what I need to see. I need to watch more of this guy, and that's one guy I'm going to focus on this season, especially for the Washington Nationals. Josh Bell comes into this team 37 times. This guy homered for the Pirates when he was in 2019, and the Pirates have that pitcher-friendly ballpark, so you can only imagine it to be a little bit better when he's playing for Washington, playing in these other stadiums. Kyle Schwarber, another guy that they brought in, so that they've kind of addressed somewhat of their offense. They really missed having Rendon last year. Ryan Zimmerman's on the bench potentially this season with Josh Bell in, so we'll see how that goes. Starlin Castro, Yan Gomes, and Victor Robles is a guy to keep your eye on for this team for sure. Now, with the Washington Nationals, the pitching has always been a big story. Max Scherzer, he's getting older, so will he be able to be that ace on the hill they need? If they're going to have a shot at the playoffs, that is definitely what they're going to need. Patrick Corbin comes in for this team. Steven Strasburg, just talked about him. He missed basically the whole last season. They also bring in John Lester this season. It'll be interesting how he does. Again, one of those pitchers that's on the tail end of his career, always has trouble against steals, so I'm not sure if he's really an answer, but as a number 4, definitely probably an improvement for them over Anibal Sanchez, who they had last year at the very least, right? Joe Ross, and they addressed their bullpen for sure. Brad Hand comes in, Will Harris. These are two guys that they can really count on the back end. So at least the Nationals are expected to take a step forward from last year. Still expected to be third, so in the wild card hunt by the looks of it, and with the two teams we're about to talk about next, they have a big chase on their hands, and I don't personally think that they're going to be able to do it. Third seems about right for me, and they're really going to be competing with the Phillies. So that's what I'm going to be looking to see. Phillies, Nationals, who really is the third place team. They do have a 3-game edge on them in the projections, so there's that. Number 2 projected this season, 90 wins, New York Mets. They were busy. They had a very busy offseason. They just barely missed out on Trevor Bauer, allegedly. And then they did also get Francisco Lindor, who they're working on trying to get re-signed. Allegedly, $300 million was offered to him. And he does say if they don't come to an agreement before the start of the season, it's off. They're going to wait till free agency. So that's pretty much been the focus for the New York Mets in this preseason spring training. Can they get Lindor sold to this team? That's a big part of it. Taking a look here at the lineup, they've got Brendan Nemo, Jeff McNeil, Francisco Lindor kind of sits in there at number 3. Conforto, Alonso, Smith, all guys coming back. Pete Alonso, after that breakout season 2 years ago, had a little bit of a less stellar performance last year. Did we expect him to be able to keep it up? We'll see. This year, it's going to be a big part. If he can be the player he was 2 years ago, this is a team you definitely got to watch out for. It's interesting. They added some bench players here. They got Kevin Pillar, Jonathan Villar, both guys that are come in and different sides of the plate and stuff like that. So they at least have some depth, and this is an offense that, while be it not a huge punch, a lot of it's gonna rely on whether Lindor, Conforto, Alonso can perform. Jeff McNeil's really that average kind of hitter, potential to be leading the league in hits this season. So keep an eye out. This team is definitely one to be watch out for. But as we all know, the strength of this team comes with their pitching. Jacob deGrom, top of the lineup here. They brought in Marcus Stroman. It's really his contract season, so he's going to be looking to give them a reason to sign him for a longer term deal. Carlos Carrasco, they brought him in, and when he's on, he is definitely on. There's been some question marks with him in the past. He has trouble finishing out the entire season. However, it's at least an ad. They missed out on Bauer. They got him. Taijuan Walker, David Peterson, 4 or 5, decent. Walker's definitely a decent number 4 guy for this team. And at least if they can stay above water until they get Noah Syndergaard back, who's expected to come back some point this season from his Tommy John surgery. It is Noah Syndergaard's final season, so they will want him if they make the playoffs and have a potential chance. This could be their chance to win a World Series and show Noah Syndergaard, like, this is where you want to be. This is where you're going to want to be going forward. We're building an amazing team here. We're committed to Lindor, all these things. So, yeah, it's their chance to shine here. This could be a little window that they have at a World Series, and potentially if some of these free agents walk, then they might need to start rebuilding a little bit. But I think with being a New York team and the New York Mets, the window never really closes, and there's that. But they will be chasing this next team. One in the National League East, the Atlanta Braves. Now, this probably doesn't come as a surprise. 91.5 wins projected, just slightly above the Mets, but they do have the edge, and I think I can see why. If we look at their lineup here, they got Acuna, Albus, Freeman, Ozuna, all really good, 1 through 4. Freeman, potentially MVP player, crushes it, and he hasn't really had a down season in whenever, right? Travis d'Arnaud, solid catcher. He's really got that catcher position. Might be potentially one of the better ones in the division, if not the National League as a whole. And it falls off like Dansby Swanson, Riley, these guys in the lower part of the lineup. If Swanson can have the kind of season he did last year, this is potentially the best offense in all of baseball. And with that being said, like, their pitching is nothing to scoff at either. They made the playoffs last year. They made 1 win away from the World Series, and they didn't even have their allegedly best pitcher at all. Mike Soroka, he's expected to be back this season, and he's going to be at the top once he comes back. He's not quite ready, but the pitching depth of this team was definitely addressed. They brought in Charlie Morton from the Tampa Bay Rays, Ian Anderson, Drew Smyly. These are kind of what they're projected, but they also have the guys from last season that were starting pitchers in their bullpen, so depth everywhere. Sean Newcomb, Josh Tomlin, allegedly probably like the long guy on this team, but if push comes to shove and they have some injuries, they at least can bring them in to fill some of the role. The Atlanta Braves, really, they want a World Series. They want to get back to that glory. They're expected to win the division. They're probably at this point thinking playoffs, at least a deep run. They're going to have the same trouble as they did last season, like the Dodgers. They're stacked, and I'm sure once they get to that point, most people are going to expect them to bow out to the Dodgers, but I'm sure this team is World Series or bust, and anything less than that is a disappointment for the Atlanta Braves. That wraps up the National League East. We've got 2 more coming up, so if you haven't already, and I know you haven't, get down there, hit that like button, hit that subscription button. We're going to be all over this MLB season, all season long. I just want to hear what people have to say from all corners of the North America here. What's your team? What do you think is going to happen in the National League East? Did I screw something up that you just have to point out? I'd love to know. Like, let me know down in the comments below. we're going to have a long season here, but it's going to be one of the best seasons. It's going to be a fight throughout for the National League East, and I cannot wait to see how these teams, 1 through 5 really, how they've taken step forwards, how they've taken step back. So let's get it, and we'll see you for the next video.